Good afternoon. Seems like only 24 years ago I was sitting out there where you are. And by Steve Shue's calculations, my research ability then must be somewhere between chopped liver and non-existent, which might be true, but I'm collaborating with one of his staff right now in a grant, so somebody must think I know something. So welcome to the dark side. Research integrity, I'm a 50% faculty. It's my real job, and 50% I have this job on the side for research integrity. And sometimes, as you know, things go wrong. I mean, Paul was just sort of telling you some things in the export control area that could happen and be careful about. I deal with the research misconduct issues. The most important thing on there is rio@msu.edu. So what do? Well, every university has to have a RIO or at least a plan. Smaller universities just have plans, the ones Steve was talking about who don't do a lot of research. We have one research integrity officer. Harvard, I think they have 12. They have 12 affiliate hospitals, right? You go where the money is. So every university is a little bit different. Any university that gets federal money in certain areas, you have to have this. So we do, and it is me. And this is our web page. It's one page. And there's some hot links on the left of some things that I believe are interesting and important to you, particularly our research misconduct guidelines of 37 pages. If you can't sleep some night, I encourage you to download them, read them, get to page 3, you'll be sleeping very well. But there might be times when you need those. So hopefully not, but that's why we have them. My job is to apply the standards and the rules that we have. I'm not an advocate. I don't take sides. Sometimes that's difficult, particularly when you have a grad student crying in front of you about the abuse that they believe they've had. I can't get involved. I apply the procedures. But things happen. So what is research misconduct? It'd be nice to have a definition if we're going to talk about it. Well, at Michigan State, this is our definition. It's a much broader one than the federal government, because we do a lot of things. Steve was talking about the HARP grants and the more liberal arts side. So it's research and creative activities. So this is our definition of research misconduct, okay? And I don't have time to get into it all. I would be happy to talk to any of you at any time if you come with problems or questions that you had at your previous institution. We have some other things. Disclosure sometimes is important. A lot of times you apply for grants, you're supposed to tell the agency, well, you know, I already have these other 3 grants for this, but I'm going to apply for your money also. Well, if they say it's a rule, you have to do that, then you better do it. Well, sometimes people forget. You have to comply with a lot of rules. JR is going to be up here in a minute and talk about all of the things under his watch that sometimes people, again, don't take those as seriously as they should, or they make mistakes with those. That's important, and I can get involved in that area as well. Certainly animal protection, human protection, we're very interested in that. So there are times when I deal with situations, and it's not necessarily research misconduct, but it's what we call unacceptable research practices. And from a university standpoint, sometimes, if you want to look at the fallout, sometimes that's worse than, you know, he stole my chapter 3 of the book that nobody's going to read anyway. I'm not making light of that. But these can really get us in trouble, even though they might not be, by definition, research misconduct. So we deal with those issues, and they come up all the time. I will tell you that I think the word's getting out on our office. This year is a banner year for people before the fact coming and asking me, well, is this right? Should I do this? Should I check? Who should I check with? I love those calls. Like Paul said, 24 hours a day. I never send those little emails. Well, I'm in the Bahamas for 3 weeks, don't email me. I never send any of those. I'm always on duty. Please call, please email us. And then we have one more possible thing that could be sort of a bad thing. There are professors, you know, I'm sure none are sitting in this room, but there are professors for their entire career sort of drive their car a little bit close to the edge. And, you know, it's not research misconduct, but that's not a way to run an airline. So we occasionally have situations that at the end of the day, after some inquiry or possibly investigation, that there could be a finding of what we call questionable research practice, where it's not research misconduct, but it's not a good way to do business. you're harming the grad student, whatever it is, and at least maybe your unit person should take note of that. Collegiality is incredibly important at this university. I'll put you on the spot here in the front row. Oh, wait a minute, you already know the answers to these. Who doesn't know the answer? Right there in purple. What do you think? Youth. Yeah, what do you think? Any number between 0 and 100. What percentage of our cases are some sort of previous, there's something bad between or among these people? 50%. That's what I would guess if I didn't know any better. It's close to 90. Most of our cases involve something that went wrong somewhere. Either last week, or she used to be in my lab and she's not here anymore and she still wants to get credit for the research she did. Of the nerve. Things like that. So there's a lot, or somebody at another university or whatever. We don't have too many altruistic, somebody just walked in from the University of Nebraska and said, I saw these 2 books and they look the same and yours was published later. You might want to know about that. I think I've had one of those in my career. I've been in this 12 years. So a lot of times the collegiality issues, and that's why the upfront conversations are very, very important to hopefully stop this. And we have, you're going to find out that the graduate students, particularly, you have to do responsible conduct of research in one form or another. One of the things we do is the graduate school puts on a session for the graduate students that you can come maybe about 6 to 8 times a year, and you can get you can learn about IRB, you can learn about animal control, you learn about research. And I always ask them the question after I give a little talk. Okay, now that you know what research misconduct is, now you know the rules, how many know of something right this minute that's going on that you would call a research misconduct issue? Last time I did it, there were, 190 people there, 91 of them said yes, and they were using clickers, so it wasn't like they felt obligated to say something that I wouldn't like them if they didn't say the right answer. That happens every time I give this talk. I did not have 91 people in my office the next day, trust me. So stuff goes on here that doesn't get reported to me. Students are very vulnerable. They're afraid to report. What I can ask you is please, when you're working with your graduate students, make them aware of our office. Please don't scare them off from ever talking to me and having Dear John conversations about their friend at enormous state university down the road. I have those all the time because that's their right. And it's your right. We try to prevent things. We try to give advice when we can. We ask administrators to hopefully, they're there to administer the department. We're here to do what we do. Please let us do what we do. So please ask the questions. Don't try to solve it yourself. That never works. We try to prevent things. We try to do some dispute resolution. Doesn't always work. I work with people, and sometimes it works great if they really want to resolve it. If they don't, it's very simple. It doesn't happen. Well, then, hopefully down the road, I might see them again. It's one of those pay me now or pay me later things. So if I could leave you with one thing other than remember rio@msu.edu, it's one of these. If you think something's going on, just call me. We can talk about it just sort of hypothetically all the time. I have those conversations all the time. I welcome them, and anytime you can get a hold of me. I'm in 107 Olds Hall, right next to the library. Thank you.